Okay, there we go. We started. So, Marco, welcome to the podcast. This is the third or something, in-person one, and you're gonna get the smoothest experience of all the people. Like everyone else has been on, has had like a less smooth experience, I think, with the in-person bits. So, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. And as per usual, why don't you give the guests an introduction to who you are and what you do before we jump into the questions?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm Marco. I'm 22 years old. I built my first real startup when I was in the last years of high school. Grew up to one of the top 100 platforms downloaded in Italy, which is where I come from, given the name. And from there, I basically exited during my first year of uni. And from there, basically, a bunch of other experience, still company wise, but a little bit more planning to build my next venture, which I'm now building, this time VC backed. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a founder also, if it's not clear.
Yes.
I'm a founder. I got exposed in high school like radiation and never left this kind of
Mm.
feeling, love for startups, love and hate.
Hmm.
So, that's I think who I am.
Yeah, no, cool, makes sense. And so let's start at the beginning. So you're from Italy. Whereabouts in Italy, first of all?
Okay, so it's a very nice place, Sorrento, which is
Hmm.
like south of Italy. It's the Amalfi Coast. So it's the best place to live. Probably one of the worst to build, definitely. But I think it's generally one of the best place to live.
Hmm.
Uh,
And so say it again. I'm going to look it up quick so that I have
yeah,
a sense of where it is. How do you spell it?
Sorrento, which is if
Sorrento.
you
It
want
sounds
Capri, it's
okay. Okay, I've got it. I've
basically
got
in
it.
front of Capri.
Yeah.
That is a little bit more
Mm.
known. Uh,
I think you're the second Italian to be on the podcast.
fucking
Maybe
way.
even third. Yeah, somehow
Really?
yeah, I have a good friend from when I did an exchange called Matteo. He's from Sicily, I think
Ah,
Messina.
okay. That is as
Um,
well very nice. Nice
this
thing.
place looks lovely.
Yeah,
Is it
no.
difficult though in living growing up in Italy because you must like be like completely bombarded by tourists every. I mean,
Yeah.
the place that you live,
Yeah.
it looked like kind of places tourists would like to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think more it's quite the opposite problem. It's
Mm.
like having so much people for a while and then basically the city
Nobody.
becomes like 10,000 people at its best.
Mm.
So it's more the opposite where basically the winter is like dead. So it's still cool, but it's a little bit different. So
Hmm.
it's like having both in a way. So you're like for a while you are exposed to literally like hundreds of thousands of
Hmm.
people. Then one month becomes like no one else is
Mm.
around. Every shop is closed because of course there are
Mm.
literally still, the only summer wise or at least tourist
Mm.
months. So most of the shops are
Mm.
closed.
So it's not like super annoying when all the tourists are there. It's actually you
No,
guys don't mind it.
well, yeah, I don't think it's
You do
even,
it for us?
even though everyone will just say, "Oh, fucking tourist," but the
Yeah.
thing is, if you think about it, it's very well placed as a it's the streets are clean, everything is like super well curated. So in a
Mm.
way, yeah, fucking tourist, yes, but these are the guys that brings you money, and also it's a very high-end tourist stuff. So you literally have
Mm.
good, basically good people that comes in,
Mm.
brings you a lot of money. The town becomes a little bit richer.
Mm.
So you know,
And did you ever have did you ever have like a job like catering to the tourists? Did you work at
ah,
like
I
a shop or as a teenager?
yeah, I tried always to stay far from it.
Okay.
So
Were there quite a lot of jobs that you could like as a because when I'm away, sometimes you see like the teenagers that live there, they might run a water sports shack or they might
It's yeah, we didn't have any water park, of course, but yeah, it's kind of most of my friends were like waiter or like for the summer
mm-hmm.
or something like that. I always hated those kind of jobs to do them in a way. Every time I got hired for a job was pretty much I want to do things in not in my own way, but I always thought that there could be a little bit more thoughts in what you do, and it could have been done better. But
Hmm.
sometimes, in this kind of jobs, you just have to do without think that much. I don't know if it makes sense. Probably it's not for most of them. So it's like, I don't think this approach is like used in a very good restaurant or whatever, but still. So you basically have this kind of stuff. In my case, I always try to avoid this kind of these jobs. Not because I mean, they were good jobs. The people were nice. There is like team building and all this stuff. They pay as well, very good.
Hmm.
So it's not something else, but it's just that I don't know. I always kind of try to live behind, and in a way, I always try to build something. So for a while, during the first years where I actually could take these jobs, I was basically repairing phones. So for
Ah,
yeah, for a while
okay.
I was like literally I bought a kit online from yeah on Amazon I think. I started to change batteries and other stuff.
Mm.
Some photo cameras. So it was like a little bit of side money. So I built up the website with Wix, I think, which at
Really?
the time
I
was
like a
like
phone repair thing.
yeah,
Ah.
of course, completely like I didn't knew taxes, I didn't know anything, but it was a good way to do side money. So it was actually cool. Yeah.
So that was like your first job then?
Yeah, probably I would say yes. After that, probably next year, I built an e-commerce, which was very cool because I was like second year of high school, and this e-commerce was built on WordPress, which was total shit for building an e-commerce, but it was cool because basically I started to go in forums and other stuff. So this e-commerce was basically I was taking stuff from China or reselling it in my hometown or nearby. And it was kind of nice because, of course, basically there was only Alibaba, there wasn't Temu or
Mm.
other like I don't know what others there are, but all these AliExpress, Temu, these were not existing in it, so it was kind of new in a way to have that cheap price. So it was cool, but since it was only Alibaba, the only thing that you could take from China, you had to build like buy orders, like big, super big orders. So I find out that in certain forums, for Chan, for one of them, was basically you got like basically you I was keeping touch with these Chinese entrepreneurs that were shipping orders and maybe adding a little bit on top for me so
Hmm.
that I could take and then sell. I was paying a little bit more, of course, but it was still nice.
But so how does that work? So,
Yeah, it's a shitload of but so Alibaba is like a super seller where you basically buy everything. It's
but,
like Amazon but super powered
yeah, yeah.
Chinese, and then from there they become AliExpress, the consumer version for Europe. It became even now Alibaba is still accessible, but
Yeah.
it's now everyone goes on Temu
Oh, yeah.
or whatever
Being,
other
yeah. Shine. I don't know how you're supposed to say that word.
yeah, okay. So fast shopping, in this kind of level.
Yeah.
But for example, it took like 30 days, 40 days. So you had to do like a little bit of stock.
Mm.
So what I was doing was basically going around asking if this article would be like interesting for them. And the more interest orders, so like a letter of interest, a letter of intent on buying them, I was
Mm.
basically sorting the list and then saying, okay, I'll buy 10 of this, 10 of this, and 10 of this. I'll basically I would have contacted the guy that was selling those. Of course, I
So
couldn't.
these people are selling it on Alibaba, right?
Yeah,
So you
there was
contact them.
like hundreds
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
like you needed to
And
buy a
who?
minimum of 100
Like,
products.
okay.
I basically asked to in the next shipment that was going in Italy or it was going
Yeah,
for big companies. Okay,
yeah.
so for usually were in Europe pretty much. They were all shipped in France for some way, and basically I asked, okay, could you add on top of it like a little bit more? For them, it wasn't like most no interest
Mm.
in doing it, but
One or two.
I made some friends over there. They probably knew that I was like a teenager.
Yeah. So how old were you at this point? Were you doing this?
I'll hold.
Yeah. How old?
Well, my second year of high school. I
Okay.
have
So
to
you were like
honestly. don't know
16?
which. Huh?
Is that like 16, 15?
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how because for us, we only have 2 years. Oh, no, that's not.
In Italy, we have like 5 years of preschool in a way. Then
Yeah.
you have 3 years of middle school, and then 5 years of high school.
Okay. So you must have been like, yeah, like 15.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
15 is
Yeah.
it's fair. Yeah, second year of high
Okay.
school,
So
yeah,
you'd
15.
contact these people on Alibaba.
Yeah.
They'd already be
We're
shipped.
not on Alibaba. I mean, I was taking people from Alibaba, but I was contacting them
Okay. So they're
for.
based in China basically.
Yeah,
And
yeah, they were
they're
delivered in
sending,
China.
yeah, and they're sending a bulk order to someone in Europe.
Yeah, it
And
was.
you were saying, "Oh, can you add like 1 or 2% more
Yeah,
for
exactly,
me?"
exactly.
And then with that stock, you'd sell it to your local.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I
Wow.
basically I had like little brand Upside Down was called. I had all these stickers that I was placing everywhere so it was quite cool actually. I don't know if I don't think I kept the domain, but it was like upsidedown.com I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool. I mean, I got a few orders even from out of my region, like a few of them were in North Italy.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was cool, but it's kind of different ways, but they was doing not that much money to be honest.
Mm.
It's like the sales were too low. Um, yeah, it was probably repairing phones was
Hmm.
easier.
But still, like, I don't know. That's really crazy to me because, like, when I was 15, I don't know, I never would have. I think I'd have been too scared to do something like that. I don't
Well,
think, like, I think, yeah, I think I'd be like, oh, like, I'm writing to this person in China and they're
mhm.
gonna send this stuff. And what if I get in trouble? Like, why do you think? I mean, did you ever feel like that? Did you ever feel like, oh, am I doing anything illegal here? Or were you just like, oh, like, should be fine?
Well, I mean, there's
And
always the
also, how did you
thing.
even get the idea in the first place? Like, because I know when we were teenagers, the whole reselling thing, people talked about it a lot. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's how you came across the idea, like
I
the,
mean, the drop shipping thing wasn't that much
yeah,
common. It was like probably the last years of high school. I started, no, probably first year of uni, I think. I started to actually see the recurrent pattern of drop shipping. You have to drop ship. I
yeah,
think the difference is you don't own the stock, just resell it.
yeah, yeah.
Something that I wasn't doing it because, from Alibaba, there was like 40 days to get the stock
Mm,
in France. And then from France, it was like 5 days. Sometimes, really sometimes, you basically didn't get the stock because it was blocked at the border, so you couldn't get anything. But I think drop shipping is another animal.
mm,
Also, it's a lot easier because you have Shopify or whatever thing. You just set up a website on the
mm-hmm,
on the floor. Doesn't mean that it's still super complex.
mm-hmm.
People that sell your courses and stuff, it's still very.
Yeah,
So it's I wouldn't take like, oh yeah, side money, nice.
yeah.
Entrepreneurship is not a side money. If you do entrepreneurship for getting a side money, passive revenue, this kind of stuff
Forget about
doesn't
it.
exist.
Yeah,
Doesn't exist.
yeah,
It's easier to take a part-time job or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It doesn't exist. Entrepreneurship part-time is a job.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So like, how did you, from going from someone who's sort of tinkering these phones,
Yeah,
how did you start like,
the Alibaba thing.
yeah,
Well,
because the phones thing I get, like, I
yeah.
can see, when I'm speaking to people like yourself on this podcast and their teenage years, which is also always such a fascinating topic because like, I don't know, people are quite different now, and I don't know why I find it so
Yeah.
fascinating, but it always is. Um, I'm always thinking in my head in comparison to my
Uh-huh.
own teenage years,
Yeah.
And so, like, I could see myself maybe of doing like the phones tinkering bit,
Yeah.
because something would break and you'd be like, oh, I want to fix it.
Yeah.
Like my laptops would always break, and I'd always try and fix it myself first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see how you probably were like, oh, this is fun. Everyone else is
Yeah.
getting like part-time jobs. I'll do this.
Yeah, my sister broke his iPhone and I wanted to fix it. So that's what I
Yeah, it
did.
makes sense, right? But then going from that to like contacting these folks in China,
Yeah,
like
it's
how
kind
did
of
it
the
go?
job.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think my parents left me a little bit of slack. Not my mother, but so not slack. Of course, it's not So my mother thought, okay, you have to study.
Mm-mm-mm.
No, basically at the first year of high school, which is a thing that I will always thank her for it. She basically took my play and she like go with the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically removed any game whatsoever since I was already like isolated because my
Oh,
house,
she like your PlayStation, you mean?
yeah,
Okay, so
my
she
PlayStation,
was
she
like,
basically took her and just
great. Wow, that's really good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was very into like these games. It was everything was for me competitive. I was
Yeah, yeah.
playing literally sometimes 16 hours per day. So it's
Yeah.
like
And it's really consuming.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So she basically took me the PlayStation and what they actually bought me, which is a very thing, basically very little number of parts, of course, because sometimes it's an affordable part or whatever. But they basically, I wanted so much a Mac. It was like a super cheap one,
Mm.
and but I wanted so much that it basically, and the nice part about the Mac, in a way, was that I couldn't install play any games on it. So
Right, okay, yeah.
MacBook,
It's just
at
not.
least now maybe there is even a little bit more games, but at the time was like no games. It's literally nothing. So it was in a way it was like okay, I need to use this thing and I want to explore as much as possible. So I started to basically fell into like I think we're in a unique place now and back then as well. Basically now you have literally the entire word in one search. So and
Mm.
it's something and now it's even easier of course with ChatGPT and other things. And the fact that you can access to a knowledge to an amount of knowledge that probably Caio Julius Caesar
Mm.
wouldn't have been able to access to. It's just mental. It allows you. I think we're one of the golden era of building of literally make people super smart, which doesn't mean to replace with intelligence with something else, but just, I mean, on really learning. And I
Mm.
think I mean, in teenage years, that's what I mean by slack. I mean that basically I was still studying a little bit. I wasn't really a good student, to be honest. But a lot of stuff that I started because I basically explored so many articles, so many things, so many different stuff. I learned the stories about Alibaba from SoftBank. That's if you
Mm.
want to know the link. SoftBank basically bought like the Vision Fund bought Masayoshi Son was like the first top tier return. I bought like 20%, I think, for like 20 billion or whatever. I honestly don't remember the numbers, but I just know that basically they did like now Alibaba grew to really a trillion company, I think, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But the point here is Masayoshi Son did like one of the most top returners on this stuff. And that's how I find out Alibaba, pretty much. I found out this like Chinese Amazon. So I basically started to look around and was like, "Oh, fucking hell, these prices are so low. How is it possible?" Then I started
Mm-hmm.
to learn, okay, why these prices are so low. Started to learn the border stuff, all these
And
problems.
why are the prices so low? Is it just because of the economies of scale? Like, that's what I
Well,
always assumed, but
no, I think the prices were that much low simply because, now maybe not even more, but in China, like 10 years ago, it was like, I mean, you could have built anything. The industry were like super building, overbuilding everything. So it was like maybe the same pen was built by 20 industries, like millions and millions. So like one pen was like instead of 20 cents in Italy, it was like 0.01 cent. So it was crazy. It was crazy, and that okay,
so
fuck.
it was like a scale thing, economies of scale thing.
Yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
probably also
Of
labor
course, the
costs.
cheap labor
Yeah,
is
yeah,
was
yeah,
the main driver, and now not even. I mean, the cheap labor there was very cheap. Now
yeah.
it's not even like that anymore. That much at least. It's like now you basically have Vietnam or other countries, but China at the time was like literally top tier because it was a very scalable economy. So it was solid. It was stable. It wasn't like I don't know a country that was changing government. It was
Yeah.
stable. So basically, people and companies, external companies, could invest in industries and building like literally the industry of this stuff. And of course, cheap laborers,
Hmm.
which yeah, and it's not something, to be honest, that cheap labor. Oh my God, Chinese cheap labor. Chinese cheap labor. It's basically since 19th century.
Well, even
Yeah, so
maybe since forever,
yeah,
really.
exactly. I remember I was reading a book about Churchill. I'm a huge fan about Churchill.
Really?
Yeah, top tier
Okay, okay.
fan.
Let's talk about before we lose that in the train.
Yeah.
So why?
Why Churchill for
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Well, I think the capability of having the entire world on your shoulders, and for him it was just about that. And enduring, like literally keeping knowing that you have the entire world, like for 1 year you had literally it was just you.
With fucks, yeah. It
Yeah,
was like
and also the
crazy.
important thing is that while not anyone understood the how crazy was the Nazi regime. And I wasn't talking really about the craziness of like, oh my God, it's a crazy regime. No, no, I was talking about the scale. Like, imagine just you can do two comparisons. In 45, in 1945, US had like atom bombs and it didn't use that much. I mean, it used for Japan, but aside of that, it didn't. But another bomb with the Nazi Germany would have been basically bombing of every
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
even allies, which were not that much allies. The point here it was the scale of the ambition. So it was like literally owning the entire world. And I think Churchill was one of the first to actually understand this, understand about the scale of ambition that the Nazi regime had. So that's why it was very. So it wasn't like a war that, like for France, would have been okay, another war. But so the politics from France, like Pétain, for example, the
Hmm.
general,
Hmm.
the French general, was okay, another war. That's it. And that's why he did basically the agreements, the Vichy France, and all that stuff. But basically, you had literally Churchill that it was very clear, like very. I don't think even Delano Roosevelt understood the scale of ambition of Hitler. I think it was profoundly understood by Churchill,
Mm,
and I think knowing that and knowing that you basically had the entire world on your shoulders and enduring, literally going on everything and keep going, keep as I said, keep going. Basically, literally, I think it's one of the most valuable lessons for any from entrepreneurship to anything in life. It's
mm,
literally enduring. The amount of stretch that it was, I think it wasn't
mm,
anywhere near comparable to anyone else. It was, of course, a very a very a person that wasn't understood by so many. Of course, there were like different POVs with
mm,
the famine in
mm,
India. So there were a lot of elements that Churchill was in a way it was accounted for or whatever. But I think he was probably one of the few to actually endure one of the stress. And, it's very enduring pain. It's
mm,
what I think what about entrepreneurship is in a way,
mm,
enduring pain. And he did it with so much clarity about what kind of pain was and how big it was,
mm.
and enduring. So crazy feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I guess like things like Dunkirk and stuff. Like to be in a position where people are asking you questions and you've got to respond. First of all, you've got to respond like quickly. You can't be like, oh, let me think about it for a week.
Yeah,
And then if you fuck it up, like
yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people are going to die.
That's about taking risk. And he was, aside of constancy, one thing very cool about the Normandy landing was basically the D-Day, was that the king pushed Churchill to not go in
Really?
yeah, Churchill wanted to go.
Oh, he wanted to be there
Yeah.
in person.
And the king said, fucking hell, you will not
Amazing.
go.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
didn't know that. Wow. So he
yeah,
wanted to just like he wanted to be on the beach.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What a guy, man.
yeah, but because it was, I mean, if you read a book or any other, this guy was literally constantly risk, even in a way, very, very like too much probably.
Mm. Yeah, because I know about his
Like it
drinking
was,
habits and
yeah.
like
I mean, yeah,
smoking habits.
that was probably one of it, but not that much. the Victorian era was pretty much.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
drinking a lot, and that was it. But the thing about really taking risk, especially in the early years, it was like fucking hell, you're mad.
Mm.
And it was like it was literally searching for wars, especially in the early years when it was a user, so basically a person on the horse that with the
Oh, when he was in the cavalry. And
yeah, in the
yeah,
cavalry.
yeah,
Yeah, USARs are basically like a kind of cavalry.
yeah,
So, and he was searching for wars, and he started to look at, in fact, in
yeah,
the end, was like captured by Boers
yeah.
in South Africa, but still, it was like really looking, and he basically like survived, like for where there were like thousands of close shave.
Mm.
Normandy was just the top of the notch, but the king in the end won this
Mm.
argument,
Not really
and
smart decision.
yeah, smart decision. So in a way, so it is kind of so in this way, it's like risk taking, sometimes even too much.
Yeah.
But besides the point that if you're not willing to do it, and you just send people, it's not the leader
Hmm.
lead by example.
Hmm.
That's why one of the things I don't believe is smart working, remote
Hmm.
working. The remote working is you can't show lead by example,
Hmm.
especially for a startup. Maybe for a bigger company, I don't know. But for my scope of for my size of the company at the moment, you have to lead by if you ask to work 12 hours per day, you have to work 16. So
Yeah.
and it's not something that it's just that lead by example. You have to be in this case, of course. You wanted to go, it wasn't allowed, of course,
Mm.
but still, it's a very
And
cool.
when did you like, has this been, since you were a kid, have you like always been fascinated by,
Churchill.
yeah,
Yeah, I love. There was a series of books which is basically start with the Gathering Storm. I don't know the name here, but in Italy it's called A Guerra in Sordina, which is basically this kind of. I was always fascinated. I was always fascinated by Easter in general.
really?
I
Okay.
think it's very cool to learn, especially patterns. I'm a huge pattern, and history in a way echo itself, not
Mm.
repeat, but echo itself. And it was very cool for me. So I basically, Wikipedia was my main website to go, which is funny because I was the embassy in Italy. I was the Italian embassy here in London. I met finally the Jimmy, the founder of Wikipedia. So it's like,
Wow.
dude, man, thank you for my infancy. They
Yeah.
literally built me. It literally built
Mm.
my. So it was of course, it's like tweaked a little bit. Sometimes it's some, but you start from Wikipedia because it's central, and then you start to find other info. You
Yeah, and you
start
read a
to
book and
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. So Wikipedia for me was like literally the Easter for I was studying everything. I
Mm.
was studying, and of course, the beginning was like being passionate about certain people. Starting to understand what were the drivers, what were the motivations for how they were enduring such amount of pain, why there sometimes were, there were so I think Churchill was probably the one
Mm.
that I fell in love with, even though I didn't have a really good opinion about Italians. He was like, he said Italians. Do going war like it's a football game and we
Mm.
in a football game like it's a war or another famous quote from me about Italians was that when we basically change side
Oh
in the
yeah.
thing it
Yeah.
said it's funny because in 43 there were 50 million fascists and the day after was 50 million partisans. That sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, the truth is, Italy wasn't. I mean, maybe Italy, even the leader, wasn't didn't have that much scale ambition. Okay, so you can see it by how in the end it has gone. So Hitler killed itself. Mussolini tried to flee in Switzerland with ore and other
Yeah.
stuff. So it's standard. It's
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
standard.
He wasn't as like, what's the word?
So for example, for Hitler, there was no failure, or it was just like this. And of course, it was like everything. I mean, such amount of evil. But the point here is literally it tells you the scale of ambition. There is no failure. There is like stand the last standing
Yeah, it was
man.
like a religion for him, his beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't really much. It wasn't anymore about because it wasn't a it wasn't that much Christian. I don't think it was Christian at all. I don't know,
No, no,
but
no. I think he had his own like pseudo
it was very,
paganism.
yeah, it was
Like
very
he had this
into strange
sort
stuff.
of
Yeah,
mythology going
exactly.
on.
But the point here is basically, it wasn't a fanatic like, I'm following
Yeah, yeah. To
whatever.
the end.
Yeah, it just he was a fanatic for himself and what he built in a way because he
Mm,
thought that he built this country, the
hmm
German country, whatever. He basically started to build like a narrative around it, of course. But but the point here is basically Churchill in a way was kind of the opposite.
hmm
But they both endured like they both had some traits that
hmm
they are interesting to analyze in a
hmm
way. Of course, every person is like there's no one single good and top person that you can okay I want to be him
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know
Every historical figure has
yeah,
like
yeah, you have the
lots.
construct certain people and then you have to take only the sides that were
Yeah.
interesting. So in a way, we can say the commonalities where they were both risk takers. I mean, Hitler and Churchill, of course.
Mm,
So in a way, you have to, and I was very fascinated about it. It
mm.
started a little bit the history passion on that.
Yeah.
Probably in another life, I would have been an historian, I think,
Yeah, yeah,
finding more
yeah.
stuff, researching. But I think there's no other scenario where I would have ended in
Mm.
what I want to build, what I wanted to.
And as like an Italian, I mean, when I was growing up, like I was fascinated. I was also similar. Like I massive. I love history.
Mm.
And I'll probably like I considered studying it several times, but I just thought like, oh, maybe that'll beat the love out of it. You know, like
Mm.
make it more work. But anyway, so when I was a kid, I loved the Romans. So as an Italian, did you not get like did you was that a big thing for you?
The Roman Empire, I think it was probably the first true empire, probably the last one, I feel. Not because it was like the other was shit. Or like Pax Britannica. There was Pax Romana, Pax Britannica, no Pax Americana. But the thing is, the Roman Empire, I think it was the first one and the last one, just because it was so centralized. It, so it's like, it wasn't about the size. It was about literally the centralization of the Roman Empire. And it was like where they didn't have that much technology. That's the important thing. But it was more advanced than most of the people think because, it basically, if you go to Rome, you just understand how, I
It's
mean,
crazy.
yeah,
And
it's,
crazy thing about that, whenever I visit, I'm like, the population change must have been
yeah,
mental. Like something like 1 million people, right,
yeah,
around 0 AD, and then by like 500, it was something like 25,000
yeah.
people. That must
But
have
yeah.
been mental.
But the cool part was literally the logistic elements of the empire. Like everyone says, the old road goes to Rome, or
Hmm
the road leads to Rome. But the point is true. It's actually true, and every main city, European city, from London that has been rebuilt 2 times by Romans, to Paris that was built as well, and to other cities. I mean, Paris was rebuilt in a way, not built. But the point here is basically they had such a amount of logistic where basically even if you look at their army, it's like fucking hell, it's top notch. It's
Mm.
like they were building, they were, first of all, they were like structured in army base in, I think it was like a number of kilometers. There was like every
Like every
50,
like so
there
many
was
kilometers,
a
yeah.
base and they were refilling and they were, so
Yeah.
logistically, they were just massive crazy and that's
And the
it.
way that they could just like spawn a city. Like they had like all these
Yeah.
what would you say like this grid system and
Yeah,
it
the
was
parks and everything. They were just building
they were able to
parks
like
for the
copy and
night.
paste, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, they were on this stuff. And I think they were a lot more advanced. I mean, most of the law that we have here in Europe, it's shaped. Even the U.S. law is shaped by the
Mm,
Roman. So it's such a massive leftover from those guys. I mean, the kind of empire that they built was something that probably was the true Millennium Empire in
mm,
a way. Just because even if it didn't last that much, the structure that he left. I mean, in Rome, most of the water that comes actually now is still from
It's
aqueducts
so
that
cool,
built
isn't it?
from Rome.
Wow.
So it's just, it's just okay. Fuck. I mean, this kind of, but aside of buildings, it's literally the kind of,
Infrastructure, yeah.
yeah, the logistic infrastructure, the technology, so it was literally insane. And yeah, it's basically, and if you actually see at the fall of the Roman Empire, you start to see how much is equal to any similar default that we have now, printing currency or whatever. So it was like, okay, it's just like a default of
Mm,
2015. It's exactly the same. It's just same problems, same stuff. And it just fell. So it was very rare. And because it was such a mother state that, even I don't think even though the Great Britain Empire was like super big, was like I think one third of the entire world coverage, I think, for a while. Probably it is the most extensive empire ever. But the point here is it wasn't centralized as
it was
much.
super brief.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
like, because I think it only
Still
got,
100 years. Still
yeah, but
100
I think
years.
it only really got to like when you see those maps that are colored in red, that's from like the 1920s, and it was only like that for like
No.
20 years.
No, not true. But I still think it
But yeah,
wasn't centralized as much. That's
yeah.
the thing. So, I mean, if you wanted to reach like Sudan or wherever, there was just one railway or whatever.
Mm,
Well, Roman was like, well, it's so connected, very well connected. It was very bureaucratic in a way, but very well structured. And of course, the problems that they had, we have at the moment
mm,
in modern history. I mean, not in Italy, modern history. So in a way, it was just like the last empire, true empire.
mm.
So yeah.
But so you didn't like as a kid you didn't you were saying you learned a lot about Churchill and you kind of
Yeah.
look up to him and stuff. But you didn't have the same effect with like some of the Roman emperors.
Well, no, I think in a way, even if Churchill was born into wealth, kind of. I mean, it was still like the Blenheim place,
Yeah, it was
it's his
pretty. It
home.
was a
So,
big aristocrat.
I
Yeah.
didn't born,
Yeah.
I didn't born there, but the point here is even though it was pretty much aristocratic, it was pretty much from the top. The point here is basically you had like in a way such a level of redeem himself, even though it was like literally, but it was like this kind of fire of redeeming himself
Hmm.
just led to, well, Caesar, in a way, even though I haven't studied that much about him, these kind of emperors were more for maybe it's simplest. I'm simplifying too much, but these kind of people were literally for the glory, for the Roman Empire,
Mm,
for and even though there was always the narrative about civilization against basically barbers and all that shit. But so it was always that kind of
mm.
narrative, which didn't change that much from any basically war that we had in the last 25 years. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like the civilization
We're gonna
war,
bring
like,
freedom to people.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty much standard shit. Or if you're in South America, you're just like, whatever, drugs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So it didn't change that much. But the point here is this kind of nations and all that stuff. Um, emperors, Roman emperors were, I think, a different breed in a way.
Mm,
So it was more like they were born into that kind of
mm.
role. Um, so yeah, it was a little bit different, I
Yeah,
think.
no, I get it. And different, like a different historical, at least with
Yeah,
the sort of people I really look up to, or like, I don't know. It's difficult to say you look up to someone in history because anytime you say that, someone's going to go, "Oh, what? You look up to someone who genocided it?"
yeah,
Like it's
exactly.
difficult to say look up to. But and people who I really am fascinated by in history, I think it's because
If
there's
I
different reasons why
if I'm
they,
able to search a little bit, I can find bad stuff even again against Mother
yeah, they're
Teresa.
all messed up. It's like a lot of people think Napoleon, like they're really are fascinated by Napoleon. But if you say you look up to Napoleon, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
hang on a minute, mate. You look up to someone who killed a bunch of people. So yeah,
exactly. So
but yeah, these different historical figures speak to people for different reasons. So like,
No, yeah, I
Makes
I
sense.
think it's nice to deconstruct a person and try to look up to the things that you like.
And it's super fair enough to say like, oh, this historical figure, like, I think this thing they did was cool. I'm not saying like
Yeah,
everything they touched was immaculate. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
probably feel the same way about Churchill with the famines and stuff, and
exactly.
he probably said some like well aristocratic shit about poor people and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you're not saying like, oh, the guy, every word the guy said is,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for also from that standpoint of view about the famine and all that stuff, I get it that many people, especially in Asia, in the Asia hemisphere, are like still like, well, it was a killer or whatever.
mm,
I mean, for the Victorian era, it was standard pretty much to be not ra I mean, race. It's very very hypocrite to
mm,
basically look from a modern parameters of the story to the history. It's like
mm,
fuck, it doesn't make sense. In 50 years, we'll be like super bad as people
mm.
when the people will look like through their lens.
Yeah,
So I think it's very hypocritical. But aside of that, you basically have the famine and all that stuff. I mean, to be fair, if you have like two theaters of war and the main one is UK and you have to decide where to ship food, well, I mean,
yeah.
it's a rational decision. Doesn't mean that it's popular, of course. That's what a leader has to do. It's like literally you have to be strong enough to say, okay, well, this is the main theater. We can't spare food because our the German U-boats are outside of the waters. And they're
Mm,
just starving Great
mm,
Britain. If we send food to our colonies, we'll die. And if you think long term, I mean, they would basically, if they would have won that side of they couldn't even, survive to Japan and anything. And Japan was even worse than Germany
mm.
in some ways.
Yeah.
Germany was efficient in killings. That was the evil part. It
Mm,
was like such an efficient machine of killing. That was literally such an efficient way. Okay, Japan's were animals in a way. So the
yeah, they
Japan
did some
army
crazy,
was,
crazy
yeah.
things to
They
people.
even killed, I think, more than Germans.
Yeah.
So like they killed 30 million Chinese. So the point here is there were more. They were like, they were literally animals.
Mm,
So if you really want to think long term, I mean, allowing to survive to Germany and then going against
mm.
Japan is still the better play. It's not about something. I mean, if the basically the main theater would have been in India in the Asian hemisphere, I think Churchill would have sent food there
Mm,
and not in Britain because
mm.
it's about making choices that are like
Gonna
literally,
win the war.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's unpopular, yes, but I think it's still the right decision,
Hmm.
still to this day. And unfortunately, people try to judge in a way that they remove every context behind, and they
And
just
it's
say,
been like like I said, every historical figure
yeah.
has kind of fucked it in some ways. Like, I don't think there's anyone you can point to in history whose record is like squeaky clean.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. So to be honest, I wouldn't focus on trying to leave a mark in the history. That's my thing. I think I mean, or you're very interested in an industry, and then you want to leave a mark in that industry. You want to build that industry. That
Mm.
makes sense. But leaving a mark in history has historically been proven to be
Gonna kill
almost,
a lot of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But also most useless. Most of the times, these kind of people just
Mm,
shades in a way that, that's
mm.
they set stones, yes, but they don't live really they don't shape and also until as long as people die, as long as human are like not eternals, there is still exchange. So
Mm.
it's better that way.
And so going back to your story, so you started doing this like shipping from China and selling things,
Yeah,
and like and at that time that was when you were 15, right?
yeah.
So what did you do? Like how did that evolve whilst you're at high school? Like you're at high school and it was probably quite a formative experience for you because you probably learned that you figured out that you can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
I mean, the thing is, that's probably why I say my parents not left me, but in a way they never knew pretty much what I was doing most of the
mm,
times, but they basically didn't oppose that much to the entrepreneurship spirit, even though they were not entrepreneurs. They're far from entrepreneurs. My father is a photographer, and my mother is like ex-lawyer. That of course left the job to basically grow us. But the point here is, they were far from entrepreneurship spirits, but they didn't try never to actually like kill it, which is probably one of the biggest points. I think it's kids needs to explore. There's no good way or right way, especially entrepreneurship is about exploring new ways. Otherwise, if you follow the same path, you will not, and will not have the same result of the one that
mm.
really built the path. So
And it's good that she like took the it's good that she took the video games away as well at the same time. Like she didn't
immediately,
just say like, "I'll go do what you want." She like kind of made sure that you weren't just like pissing away your time.
yeah,
Not
exactly.
that, not that it necessarily is. I mean, some people can become competitive gamers, but I know for me, like I wasted a lot of time
Yeah.
just like,
And in fact, for this thing, I will always thank her about this kind of stuff. She did the right choice. Probably, I to my kids, I will not even buy those kind of games. If not, maybe I mean, we can go to some arcade game. It still exists, some arcade shop and play there, but needs to be something that they don't, they don't focus or stick that much because
mm,
games are very good. I mean, to be honest, they're very fun. I mean, if I see a PlayStation around, maybe at some out of my friend, it's very hard to not play. To be
yeah,
honest,
100%. I mean, they're
because
designed to be
yeah,
as entertaining as
yeah,
possible.
exactly. So it's very cool. But and also a very efficient machine. I basically used a lot of pieces from it to try to buy a computer, to try to build a computer, but it didn't work. It was that too much.
Really,
Yeah,
I've always wanted to do that myself, but
it was
it looks quite hard.
it was too difficult for me. I didn't
Yeah.
have that much of tech experience. But the point here is basically she did a really good job
Mhm.
in this stuff.
And so then when you're going to 16, like 17, 18, you said you also made a like an app.
Oh yeah.
So like how do we go forward? Like so you're
Uh,
doing this thing on like
yeah.
reselling and then what do you do next? And like how is
Yeah,
it?
so the e-commerce, basically, probably the main thing was that I wanted more scalability, and that's what I always searched for. So, changing fonts, changing stuff in a way, it's a very manual thing. So I could do just about a number of fonts per month,
Yeah,
and that was
it's
it.
not very
Yeah,
scalable.
but and also I wanted to sell this service, so it was like too much. There was no time basically. Then I moved to basically, e-commerce. It was a little bit more scalable because I didn't have to deliver personally, so it was a little bit more scalable, but still unscalable. So I basically started to learn coding through Indian developers on YouTube. It's a nightmare, but still. And also I started to learn English that way, basically learning from Indians. They were telling you how to code
Yeah.
stuff. I started to learn coding Swift code, and then what's it called, Kotlin, which is the Android version of the mobile code. And then yeah, basically I started to code first MVPs, first
And
products and stuff.
did you like at school did you do like a coding?
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't any. Okay.
No, I
And what
just
subjects did you do at school? Like how does it work in Italy? Because in
yeah.
the UK you have when you're 16 you have to pick A levels. So you have to pick three subjects. But how does it work? Like
In Italy, I mean, you select the school and the first year. You choose which school will be, which is scientific, and then it's basically math, and physics and
So
all
you
the
do like a
others.
broad range of subjects all the way up to 18.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay,
You
okay.
can choose also, there was like the scientific Cambridge, which was basically some subjects were in English. So like history, philosophy, I don't know how's it called in English,
Philosophy, yeah.
philosophy. So yeah, all these subjects were in English, but you could choose even the high school of language, which is basically, learning language and stuff, which is usually Latin and Greek mostly. Then there was the classic, and this is still Italian, Latin and Greek. So in a way, basically this kind of stuff. So there was like three main types of high school that you could
Hmm.
choose. There were like side. There was called this thing called PON, which was basically, after school you could have do some for extra credit, and most of them were like shit.
Hmm.
Also, since I was always a very bad student,
That's also crazy that you were a bad student. That kind of went over my head, I think, the first time you said it. Right, so yes, you didn't get, like, you didn't get, because, a lot of the people I speak to on here,
yeah,
they've been kind of good students. In fact, I think everybody I've spoke to on here has been good students their whole
mm,
life.
yeah,
And I was also quite shit at school. I wasn't shit at school, but like, you know, everyone, a lot of people I speak to, and in like in VC now, they all got like A's and A
yeah, yeah,
stars when they did the like 16-year-old
yeah.
exams, and I got like, I think I got like one A star, and it was in religious education, which was like,
That's cool.
it's not,
You're still an
yeah,
A.
it's not like I'm like a prophet or something. So it's an easy subject to get like an A star in. So
Yeah,
but so that's really interesting that because
yeah.
with all the cool stuff you're doing now, you just assume that you did good at school.
Yeah. No,
So why do you think you were a bad student? Like,
I think the education there fell always short in a way. Not by means of it was very good at school, top notch in the region, so it was not bad on itself. It was just that let me clarify. I was a bad student, like literally 4 or 5, which is like I don't know, maybe D. Yeah,
wow.
4 or 5 is like because our scale is like from 1 to 10.
Hmm.
Okay.
So you're getting like 4 out of 10.
Yeah, four or
Oh
five, not
shit.
10. So yeah, but all the subjects there were interesting for me. I was like 8, 9, or 10.
Okay.
So, but not
And what
because of
subjects were those? Like history
history,
and
science, and what else? I think that and English, I think, but because my teacher was very nice with me.
it
Uh,
makes such a huge difference, right? When your
yeah.
teacher's good. And so what subjects were you
So
bad at?
well, math probably, which is funny because the first year of uni, I selected engineering,
Mm,
and so basically surpassed. I surpassed the exam, which is the first exam, which is only math basically. It's called Analisi Uno, and it took it one of the highest votes. So it was very yeah. But the point here was there was a means to an end on that,
mm,
which wasn't actually having a degree from mechanical engineering or whatever, or yeah, computer science engineering, but it was just to being able to keep doing what I was doing without having my parents on it.
mm.
So there was an end to me. There was a means to an end, but basically math, physics. There was basically just you know, I didn't see
You didn't get
any
why you're like learning this,
yeah,
basically.
any
Yeah.
path. So, and also because most of the time I was just sleeping in school in my class. Not because I was, as I said, it's probably my Latin, all the Latin and Italian classes were just all the way sleep, 3 hours of sleep. That's very nice, but because basically on the night I was coding. So I basically
Okay.
literally worked like 14 hours per day, and then I was sleeping in school, so I
Mm.
could code still to the night. And so yeah, it was in a way very that's what I thought I wanted to do, coding, developing,
Yeah.
and stuff.
Makes sense.
But then basically during the first year of high school, when I basically exited. I had like a super quick job at the CNR, which is the National Center Research, as a developer
So this was like whilst you were studying at high
after
school.
the exit.
Oh, so you finished high school
Yeah,
and
I
then
finished high school. The app is like one of the top 100 platforms in
okay,
Italy.
but let's talk about that. So the app,
Yeah.
what's the story there? So how old were you when you started it? And like,
Okay, so yeah, basically the app was shit because it started the app and was like loads of problems.
so this is right after
There
like,
wasn't vibe coding at the time, so
so
it's
it was
literally
tough.
payment infrastructure,
Yeah.
libraries, and all that shit was insane. But then my thing was pretty much build an MVP.
But how old were you when you started it? Like 16?
Yeah, 16.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what gave you the idea? Like
Uh,
wanting to build something that was more scalable, right?
yeah. So first of all, B2C, I saw there was a little bit less. I mean, apps was what I could code. First of all,
Mm-mm.
they didn't require that much capital, and I saw that you could have exponential growth without that much capital. So in a way, I thought, okay, that's good. But it wasn't that much. And I mean, my current company is a lot more. I approach with a more analytical way. I look at from really from the long term game. Also because the kind of scope and ambition was kind of different. I mean, now it's clear that I have to build a $10 billion company. That there's no but. It's just like that. But for my previous for this app, which was Night Vibes called, basically that one was I wanted to build still the new Facebook basically, but in a way that with less clarity in how I would reach that stage. Now the clarity is there, of course. Now it needs to be, of course,
Mm.
because also when you raise money you have to be clear on the path. Of course, you have to evolve. The job of the founder usually is increase the TAM, the market that you are pursuing. But still, in a way, you have to be opinionated in how you will reach a stage. Of course, you have to quick in changing and as well. But because the thing is not about. We were talking about that before, but the thing is not about being right, but it's about bring the company where you need to be.
Mm.
So, it's but the point here,
So it was like a social network app.
yeah, kind of. It
Okay.
was more like for events platform, plus standard,
Hmm.
nothing too revolutionary. But it was basically a platform that was we started with events, basically with owning events and showing. We started to add clubs. I started to literally go to these places where top shit, by the way, and I mean top, which were top tier clubs, but it was just a shitty environment.
Mm.
So I started to basically sell the B2B line as well because while the platform was growing, um,
So what would these clubs do on it? They would use it to like their members could sign up
yeah,
and like organize
nightclubs. So it was like more,
nightclubs.
yeah,
Right, okay.
okay,
So
yeah.
so what would they use it for?
They basically, first of all, they could sell tickets unsold. Also,
Ah, right, so they get like a DJ in and they're like they sell it. Okay, okay,
but
okay,
the
okay.
cool part about it was also the management of the PRs. So I
Mm.
don't know PRs if here means the same word that in Italy
It's like
means, but
press stuff.
yeah, then it's not. But basically, there was this role called PR, which is not the thing that means here. But the thing is, they were using manual field salesmen. They
Mm.
were usually students, okay? They were
So like
selling
sell the
tickets.
tickets.
Yeah,
Okay. Like
selling tickets.
club reps kind of
The
thing.
club
Yeah.
reps, okay. And basically, the platform was allowing them to actually manage those as well,
Mm.
to merge basically, because sometimes most of the platforms were allowing you to sell tickets and that was it, but they weren't merging both, so they weren't allowing you to actually sell to handle the inventory also of the manual tickets sold. Okay, it was just like, okay, it's like two different business. Okay, or you
Mm.
have to sell tickets online and then you have to update if something changed. It was very very shit
So you
on
have to
that.
like have some kind of accounting for how
Yeah.
many like in-person tickets you've sold.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
I'll update the line and
Yeah.
change and
So that you know
stuff.
exactly how many people are coming across both like
Yeah.
online and in
So
person.
basically, the platform was allowing them to merge that. And then we started to actually add more stuff, like also showing who was going there, some social features in a way. But it was cool to grow the platform, honestly. eventually I learned that I was using the Nikita Beer playbook, the one from X, which was conquering campus by campus. That's pretty
Mm.
much the same. I find out later about the Nikita Beer playbook. That was much more refined than mine, but still, it's the best way to grow a B2C platform. The B2B line instead, it's pretty much where the money were coming from
Mm.
because you need a lot of economies, a lot of tickets to actually get some revenue from the fees. So the money were coming most of it from the B2B. But it was I mean I was at a certain point, it was very clear that the market wasn't, I mean, I started a lot less analyzed. So I analyzed very almost nothing of the market, which is something that I completely done here with
You just
the
went
current.
into it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is not a bad way to approach the first
Yeah,
thing.
because to be honest, it's probably just super
Yeah,
important that you built something, you
yeah,
know?
if you analyze, if you stop and researching and stuff, it's very, very. But eventually, with experience that you built doing this, you can actually doing building basically and selling. You can actually find what are the things that actually matter in analyzing the market, which is not, wow, cool, the market is like 50 billion, that's good. But being opinionated in where it will go first, and also in what kind of problems your product will have in the market that matters for you. So, for example, if you're in edutech, for example, let's say, which is by the way already a problem, already a problem at the beginning, because try to approach market that are very interesting or they're very attractive. Interesting, by interesting I mean attractive. Of course depends on the company that you want to build as well. It depends literally on there's no right or wrongs, but most of the times going in a market that is attractive is helpful, because if you go to edu market, you have basically the first main research that you could find was students are cheap and they don't have money. You're selling to, if you want to sell teachers as well, who is the owner of the budget of teachers? Well, as well, that budget is very low and it's shit because schools are very underpaid. So what you could do, for example, analysis, that's what I mean by analysis of the market. Well, but actually private campus, actually a lot more money and they have a higher budget. Maybe we could sell those. The students of those high-end campus have also a lot of money because they're private schools or whatever. So yeah, and actually, frame it in and search the angle that you can approach, and that what I mean by analyzing the market, not blindly seeing the market size, doing the slide of the market size, and that's it. Let's call it a day. And actually
With
understanding,
the dynamics.
yeah, the dynamics also of selling, which is something that you usually understand when you're selling or when you actually talk to people more. But you understand if there's a low willingness to pay, if they're long. Sometimes there is something that is interesting, but there is no budget for it, or is something that it's not that interested from the companies that you're selling to, or it could be because there's low willingness to pay. It could be because you don't have a clear ROI on your product. It could be there are literally thousands. Even if you sell your product good and a lot, but you have sales cycle that last like 12 months, still a failure.
Mm.
So you have to keep in account everything to actually, and you also have to identify. This is like I'm talking for the B2B, but you have also to identify what are your blockers usually. What is the average budget? What should how you should position your product to fall in the right budget. Sometimes you
Mm.
have budget that are very low for something, but very high for some other stuff. So you have to be very precise in where you position yourself and where you actually need to be. And most of them, it's this kind of stuff. It's technical choices as well. The product is heavily informed by this kind of analysis of the market. And most of the technical choices we did were basically to cover problems that we saw. Of course, thanks to the experience as well, because it's something that you have to do because it's your job. And by the way, when you're raising, VC will notice because VC are not stupid. They know what kind of problems. In Europe, it's a little bit difficult it's a little bit more difficult to basically to sell because most of them are for finance, which is not a bad thing. It's on its own. Sometimes I spoke with very great investors that are from finance. Sometimes they even build something on the side or whatever. But usually talking with builders, it's kind of,
Yeah, it
or
makes sense.
operators, it's a little bit easier because you basically they surface the problems that you would face because they know the market or whatever, but they will also understand if the way you're solving it makes sense, which is a additional point instead of, that's cool, but there's no willingness to pay. Okay,
Yeah.
but we have this technical choice. That's why we change budget size and whatever they change budget for this thing. I mean, we switch in another budget which is higher and average sales cycle are lower, or the valuation matters more. But it's about finding the right match. Investors shouldn't invest in things that are not comfortable with, in founders that are not I think pre-seed should be only about the founders and maybe a little bit about the market. But mostly, I don't think investors should invest out of their comfort zone because otherwise they will become pain in the ass for you
Mm.
later, maybe. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
So building this first product, it taught you all these things about like how to build a company that
Yeah,
came
yeah.
and had later on.
It was more, I learned more on the way. So you basically,
Yeah, it's
especially,
great that you did that like super early because a lot of people would, I think, shy away from doing that as a teenager because they'd think like, oh, it's gonna go bad.
well,
But
you shouldn't be afraid of failure per se.
yeah, yeah,
You should be more afraid of not doing
not
it.
trying. Yeah, and
So
that's the thing that people I think sometimes don't understand is like you're by not doing something, you're taking a risk.
yeah, and it's part of the game. And oh, actually, it's probably the most important thing that you can do
Hmm.
on in learning how to do risk, basically, how
Hmm.
to handle risk, how to handle the word on your shoulders,
Yeah.
in a way. But you have to be, you have to be laser focused. Okay, the best founders that I spoke with, and that's probably I think the second thing that you can do best is literally learning by osmosis from people that are in
Mm.
the game. Even, I tried to talk with, I spoke with so many unicorn founders, so many different people that even failed the business, people that fail spectacularly sometimes, because the amount of knowledge that they have, even if the business failed or whatever, even if the business succeeded every expectation, is just a lot higher than anyone else that didn't try it.
Mm. Well,
So
100%, yeah.
yeah, so you can actually learn a lot from these people, and you actually can find a lot of value in this, and people are the capability of asking. It's
Yeah.
another thing, like the e-commerce thing. Ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
The worst scenarios will say no, but it will be worth it. Try to, of course, to angle yourself in a way that, or you can be like valuable for him in a way, or you can be coachable for him, which is another thing.
Mm.
And try to be smart in the question that you make, of course, because, you know, no one
You don't want
is
to be
going.
annoying people, yeah.
Yeah, but no one tried to say. I mean, if a person comes to me and say, "Hey, how do I start a business?" Fucking hell.
How do you answer that? Like concisely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go somewhere else. But if a person says, "Okay, well, okay, I started this business B2C, but it's going this way. Do you think that approaching a B2B market in this area could make sense?" Well, okay, you gave me context. You definitely try. You show some validation in a way that you're a doer. It's cool. Try to approach it this way and that way. So, even the answer that I could, and of course, this approach that I that I would count on me, I use it for other people. And the more and the higher the person, the better the answer will be, and only the specifically the more specific needs to be. Okay.
Mm.
So these people are like machine. I mean, the more you got experience, you're like a machine of little experience that you can come with stuff. So in a way, the more specific and more context to give to these people, the better it is.
Mm.
And of course, eventually, with more experience, you as a founder, you become just a better person on a founder level. So you have a lot of more experience, a lot of more patterns, a lot of more stuff. So yeah.
Mm. And so how like you started when you were 16. How long did it run for? And like how how does it work with finishing high school and then that like job you did after high school and then going to uni and stuff like what how did like the timeline work?
Yeah, so basically I was 3 years. In 3 years it went the entire thing.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a little bit too much because in the meanwhile we had something called COVID. So when
Mm.
it wasn't the best way to launch Knife Vibes and a Knife Platform app, of course. But
And you launched it before COVID or during?
I launched immediately after.
Yeah.
I built basically like a lot of. It took a year to build, not because it was, but because I didn't. I learned as I was going the code stuff. So it
Mm-hmm.
was literally more about coding than anything else. So I would say like 2 years between actually. I basically started to have a few design partners, which of course at the time I didn't know it was design partner because I
Mm.
didn't know what even was a design partner. But the point here was people that,
Help you
from time
design
to
it.
time
Yeah.
could help shape the platform in a way that was useful for them. So yeah, it was pretty much it. I started to basically take like small, of course, put all my basically my money on it, which for a 16 years old wasn't that much to be honest. And then I asked like a little loan from my aunt, which was like less than 5K. I think it was probably two. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't remember exactly how
And
much.
how was it asking people for money like that? Did you
Well,
feel
it
funny
wasn't
or?
asking. It was more about, well, actually, so I'll give you 3% for my company, and I'll validate Alpha Million, 200K, 300K. It was just a solid. It wasn't just. Of course, she gave me because she was my aunt, of course. But I still sold.
It was still like, oh, I'm gonna make you money here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I still sold the project and the stuff. It wasn't just like, okay, give me money.
Mm.
And you shouldn't expect it. That's the point. Friends, family, and fools, now I have friends, of course, that they ask to invest in my company, but of course, the cap table, the way you have your cap table needs to be engineered, so you can't, of course, allow to have anyone else on it. But still, the thing is, take risk. If you fails, whatever. But the good part is that you have less pressure than whatever. But still, with more experience comes more pressure. You're better to handle it. So it's not something
Mm.
that
Okay, so it was 3 years running, and like it was during COVID. That must have been a big struggle.
I think the best thing that happened to me was COVID. I think,
Really?
yeah, because
But how was it like? Because running an events.
yeah, the events app was basically I completed during COVID because I shipped it. Basically published
Right, so you
immediately
kind of
after.
built it during COVID and then
Yeah,
it was ready as things started to open up
exactly,
again.
exactly.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
And it was perfect because I basically was able to work like 18 hours per day,
Yeah.
sleeping no school. I mean, there was school, but I was just keeping the computer open
Yeah.
and that's it. So I was coding actually. So in a way, it was probably the best thing because it actually allowed me to learn a lot about code
Hmm.
and actually build something structured.
Yeah.
And then from there, and of course, learn everything. I did like I watched the every podcast, every information that I could get. I took the Harvard CS course like 2 times. The information that are available on the internet is insane. You can build literally
Hmm.
anything. I think you could build an atom bomb if you wanted. You could just
Hmm.
search the right info. So yeah, you should. Everyone should try that,
Hmm.
especially when you have like a roof on your head.
You
And
don't have to worry about those basic bits, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and so then you exited it after
Yeah.
3 years. And how was that?
Well, I wasn't a multimillionaire exit,
Yeah, but
so
still, like the idea that you've built something that you can sell to anybody is pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, I think going back, of course, I would have done a lot of different stuff. Probably the first one would be pick the right industry, I think.
Mm.
But I think it's nothing. I mean, yeah, oh my God, it's very cool, funny, awesome that I'm a second time founder, whatever.
Mm.
But I think in a way, I should have aimed a lot. I should have took a lot of more. analysis in the stuff that I, approaching the
Yeah.
right industry and everything. I could have used that chance a lot better.
Hmm.
So those are basically 2 years that I will not get back. That's, the vision. So even though it's a lot of experience, the company was sold and everything better, whatever, but still.
And so afterwards, like you,
Yeah, afterwards, basically what happened was that I had like literally done the first exam. I actually done it during
mm,
when I was the last.
because it
But
went over like those 3 years, bridged high school to uni. Like
yeah,
by the time you exited it, you were at uni.
yeah, exactly.
So you made all of the decisions around what you need to go to and
Yeah.
all of that stuff in this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing was as well, I thought that it was like being a developer or like, I mean, the thing is when I exited, that was my pretty much okay. Nice time to understand very well how can I plan to do a multi-billion dollar company.
Okay, so after you exited, you were still like,
Absolutely.
let's do
But
this.
in the meanwhile, I said, okay, let's, now that I want to see, I want to, there was a way to work for a startup connected with the CNR, which is this National Research Center in Italy. So I took a job there, trying to understand where they could lead, and I basically
So you
worked
didn't
as
want to
a,
go to uni like straight away and stuff.
no, I was at uni at the time.
Oh,
So
so you uni and then doing this.
yeah, because one of my professor was basically
Okay.
computer
It was like
science.
a part-time job.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So basically, after the exit, I decided, okay, I want to
And where
learn
did you go
from
to uni?
because my
No,
mother.
but where? In Italy?
Naples.
Okay, okay,
Cool.
cool.
But so basically, I decided not because I wanted, but because I wanted to learn the startup thingy. And this guys was very, very well connected. They
Mm-mm.
got money from the region and the National Research Center and whatever,
Yeah.
and also from a few angels. So I thought, okay, that's cool. I want to learn this part, the
Hmm.
part of but as well it wasn't that much of a so I basically after like 3 months I thought okay wasted time but yeah at the time was like building healthcare platforms
Hmm.
for like they were basically built a few apps that were connected to the pacemaker of people and
Mm.
were warning the hospital
When
of
it's like not good things happening in the heart. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but it was still, I mean, very, very nice mission and everything. But, this one, and also it allowed me to reinforce the idea that I wasn't interested in coding per
Mm.
se. I was interested in the building part, in
Mm.
the building the company. So it just reinforced me the idea that definitely the engineering wasn't uh, my,
I think,
my
yeah.
thing that it
Yeah,
would
yeah.
become or whatever. So after that, I decided, okay, where is best path that I can. So I built an agency because I wanted to learn a little bit more about the industry that we're in, which is the product industry. So I basically built an agency for product decisions and data analysis. So it basically started to work with very good, very great companies as customers. And in a way, it allowed me to build the opinionated idea about the industry. And the
Mm.
more I was speaking to, the more I was connecting. That's probably the opposite of the first time was during the agency. I built a very proper network. I understood the power of the network that I used then to actually build my second startup, which is my third company. Yeah,
Which you're building now.
which I'm building now.
Okay, cool. And like, so you were in Naples doing this, and then when did you come to the UK?
Oh,
Like, how does that
the
work?
agency. When I built the agency, I was
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So did you come to a uni here? Like, how did it
No,
work? You just got a job here?
no, no. I basically had, the exit money and
Yeah.
some few stuff. So I said, okay. I mean, they will not refuse anyone with money. I thought
Hmm.
so. It was right.
Okay.
And yeah, I took basically the visa almost immediately, also because UK wasn't still exited from. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, technically it was, but it wasn't that much hard to get
Hmm.
one. So yeah, I basically started here, and that was it.
Okay. And why did you want to come here to build?
Oh, SF was very hard to get a visa. I didn't thought that I had that much money to learn and
Mm.
to build a network, a local network. So I thought, okay, what is the best way? I just looked at analytics and data, and I saw that UK had like the highest number of unicorns in Europe combined, across Europe combined.
Mm,
They had the highest number of, because I wanted to build a VC-backed company. They had the highest number of money deployed across the
mm,
entire Europe. The best market, the best integration market with US. It's very easy to flip the company from UK. UK is non-bureaucratic. I mean, if you compare it to Germany, where you have to read like the entire articles of association at literally like it's a 8-12 hours pitch where the yeah, so it's like built this law in the hundreds and thousands years
hmm
before. So, all this stuff, your UK basically built, I registered the company in like half an hour.
mm. And
So
how do you go about doing that, registering the company? And it was just you at the time, right? So
yeah,
you gave yourself all the shares, like you
yeah,
registered as like a solo trader, or how did it work?
yeah. So
Because I've been looking into it recently with all this
yeah.
tiny venture stuff, and like seems a bit confusing.
No, no, I mean, it depends pretty much on what I think. If you want to build first of all, you have to be clear on what kind of company you want to build eventually. So in this case, for example, for this company, it was clear that I wanted to raise eventually, so I said, okay, let me build the structure with in the right way, so investors will be able to join easily. So everything that I did was done in that kind of scope. The number of shares issued are not 10, but are 100,000 or 1 million, so you can
Mm,
divide them eventually, or you basically. But it's very straightforward. It's LTD. There are like hundreds of articles and even ChatGPT. It's yeah, not even a lot of knowledge.
didn't take you long.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
of course new staff pretty much struggle a little bit for the board minutes and all this stuff. Sometimes it's a little bit too much steps not needed in a way, especially for a company that is like 3, 4, 5 employees. It's really not that much needed. But I understand why they are there for bigger companies. So
Mm,
yeah, I had to basically do a little bit of work.
okay, cool. Um, and so then you moved over here, and
Mm.
how long ago was that now?
Okay, so this is actually 2 years. Come and go, come and go.
Okay.
1 year, no, 1 year and a half. Very, very.
Yeah, and when you moved over here, you had the idea of what you wanted to build. It was
I
like,
had the idea of the industry because I was opinionated about
yeah,
something that would have changed eventually,
okay.
especially with the coding agents and all this stuff. So I thought that this would have heavily impacted another
Mm,
industry, and that was the industry of product. So I basically was opinionated there, but I wanted to learn more about, being in the product industry and learn from the best. So in a way, instead of taking a job in a startup where you have just one POV, I built an agency. Since I was able to sell, of course, to B2B and other companies,
mm,
it allowed me to watch, instead of one POV, 20
hmm
POVs
hmm
from 20 different companies in different industries, different organization, how they were moving, what problems they were trying to. So it was a lot different. It was a lot faster in a way to
mm,
to learn actually. So and all
okay.
the patterns as well. So
Yeah. And how's it been like the founder journey over here so far? Like,
top notch.
good, really? Okay.
I mean, besides, yeah, I think top notch. Eventually, we'll move in US. It's not a secret. We have to, even though I really like what they're doing, the narrative that they're building, Aristad Banks, Mati as well, that is building
Mm,
like 11 Labs, is showing that companies can be built here, solid companies can be built here, big companies. I think 11 Labs is one of the best example, to be honest, because it's like literally winning a game that they started in US.
mm,
So I really like the idea. The truth is, it's still they're a US company
yeah, yeah.
technically. So, building here in Europe, it's cool. I think in a way, eventually we'll have to move there in
hmm
US as well,
hmm
and will not that much late.
Mm.
as a thing. So yeah, it's but I think it's the best place in Europe is here,
Mm.
honestly. There are no other ways to do it. Also, the US integration, it's very good.
Mm. And what's the experience like as a founder? I think this is something that people would be really curious to know about. Like, what is it like not having someone to tell you this is what you need to do, and this is like, if you do this, you'll be fine. Like having that pressure of, you know, if this doesn't go well, like it's all on me, and having to do everything yourself and having to like, build a strategy and all this kind of stuff
Yeah.
yourself. What's it like? It's probably been stressful at times, like, but what can you tell us about?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a job that you want to do if you're not fine with sacrificing pretty much everything. So there are some founders that are able to do work-life balance, but eventually, not at the beginning. At the beginning, it's just work, 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 and you have to work a lot. So there's no problem in you have to be clear about the things that you have to do on I mean the amount of sacrifice that it will be needed from your side, and this is needs to be very clear because most of the times I see founders that don't know exactly how much effort will require, but this needs to be clear from the beginning because otherwise you will lose just lost time. There are better ways to get rich. I don't think it's if being a founder is just I mean one of the thing is of course money, but it's just a effect that of the company you're building. It's more for control or something else.
Mm,
So I think this must be very clear about the amount of work that you have to do, that you have to survive in a way on it. So this needs to be clear. After that, you basically have, of course, stress because of the risk, because of everything. But eventually, with experience, it will not drive you that much. It will be the other way around. At the beginning, it's all risk, risk, risk. Oh my God, what I'm doing. But eventually, you will just build maturity where you say, okay, well, I have actually I see myself in other things. So like going back to Churchill, there was ever one way, one universe where Churchill thought that it wouldn't take the job in 1940 when the has been proposed to him. No, absolutely not. There was no scenario where the founder where I would have built a company. And there's no scenario in my mind where I will not build a company of $10 billion company. So this, it's strange, but so if the risk, the stress, and all that, something that you say it's inevitable. In your
mm,
case, in my case, there was no scenario where I would take a job that was like low pace, low. There's no scenario on it. There's literally no scenario. So I basically decided to reframe the stress in a way of, well, it's the minimum I can
the
get.
way it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's the minimum I can get, and it doesn't drive me anywhere nearby. So it doesn't drive me anything.
Mm. So,
Of course, it needs to be important. Fear is a very huge helper in the execution, but it shouldn't be that drives you.
so what you're saying is you kind of the way you think about it is this is like what you would have done anyway. And so
Yeah,
like the stress that comes with it,
yeah.
like it would only be more stressful if you weren't doing this, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was there was no scenario in any way that I would have ever built a
Mm,
company. So, and there's no scenarios I set in my mind for the future, for what this company will become. And of course, it's not a highway that you can take. Even Cursor, it wasn't a highway like they usually say. 3 months where they had like a very linear, very stable growth, not stable growth, sorry, flat line growth.
mm,
So they like grew a lot, then flat lined. Everyone thought, okay, that is the end. But it's still so even the success story are not success story like you
mm.
think from
And
the
overnight, like they started
Exactly.
it and then it was,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
It's a lot
yeah.
of work and experimentation and even lovable. It took like a year
Mm,
to actually come up with and showing that GPT engineering
Yeah.
was actually working.
Yeah.
So this kind of stuff, it's just it's standard, I think. It's you have to be able to be we have the material to have the material enough to not care about being right or wrong, but care about the company. This is something that I think you build with experience.
Hmm.
So for example, I every time I have an idea, I frame it also in a way that basically makes that idea like that didn't come exactly from me. So that idea can be destroyed
So yeah,
in
you're not
a
attached personally to the idea.
exactly,
Yeah.
but also the other people will be not scared in a way
Like they don't think,
to
oh, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just
the
saying
idea
this
was
idea
wrong.
isn't
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, and this is very important in culture. This is of course the culture that I'm building. Of course, is doesn't care if I'm
Mm.
good or wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
I care that the company's right. That's the thing. But it's also in the micro expression and all this stuff from the way you're framing stuff, and it's very important to to instill this idea of don't care about being right or wrong.
Hmm.
And I ownership. This is another thing important in a company. So yeah, but the stress, yes, there is. It's not something that drives me or I can't. And also, in a way, the yeah, I think it shouldn't be something that drives you or like brings you to think about it.
Mm.
It's definitely not.
And what do you think's like been the hardest part about like being a founder?
Um, Expectations from others. So what I mean by that was, as I said, imagine a chart that goes up and to the right. Okay, before you go up to the right, you have to go down to the right and then up to the right. So for a while, you are like the worst person in your family because you don't have a job, you don't have any idea
You're
about the
losing loads of
income.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think even from the beginning, I think the hardest part was really to, the uni and the stuff. I wasn't doing anything from their eye in a way. So night it was just this kind of shit that wasn't doing that much. It wasn't clear exactly the path. And it's very hard to explain the path as well, even if you have it in your mind. It's very hard. So that is probably the worst part, I think, because when you
Mm.
start to be a little bit up to the right, so so if you sell a company or if you get a little bit the first revenue and showing
Yeah.
still, so and then of course you basically for founders they are VC backed in a way. You show that other people, proper people, actually believe in you. But besides of what they believe or not, the thing is in a way the expectation at the beginning. Like, oh my God, what you're doing? You're like a total,
You're a loser. This guy's like
yeah,
just building this company and
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So it's very, very hard to begin, and that's why
Yeah.
very, very few. Because if you don't surpass, if you don't skip if you don't survive that down to the right, you basically just live there, and it doesn't go up to the right eventually. But with experience, it will go up to the right. Now I don't think. Now I think I'm in the line where I just stopped to be down to the right
Yeah.
and just in the center for now.
Yeah.
But as I said, there is no scenario in my mind where I wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And there's no scenario in my mind where this company will be.
Mm.
Maybe in a different version, maybe in a different flavor. But as I said, I don't care about being right. There's no stubbornness or attachment or attachment to the product, attachment to just
Mm.
analytical way, rational way. Sometimes someone could say cold way,
Mm.
because of course this approach is used also to employees in a way. So it works or not.
Mm.
It's that simple. So but still, so that's what I mean. I think the worst part is just being in that side of down to the
Mm.
right.
Yeah, and I think like to do a lot of things well. that's kind of the path you have to walk for like years almost
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
exactly.
Like, suppose you want to be a writer. For a long time, you have to just be this fucking big loser that just writes all the time, isn't
Yeah.
doing anything cool. And then one day, someone pays for an article, and all of a sudden, in everyone else's eyes, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, he's a writer, he's a
Yeah.
serious guy. Like,
And
you
the
have to,
cool part is the people that then get back to you and say, "Oh, I always thought they were such a
yeah,
fuck you,
yeah. You were the guy
man."
that was going, oh, look at Marco, he's a fucking
I
idiot. Do that.
always
Yeah,
thought, what the fuck? And as I said, that's why stress or this kind of stuff, it's just, think of an analytical way. Everything outside is just noise, and your focus is clear. You have one job, and it's to grow that company. Of course, everyone has its own goals. I mean, when you build a company, there are many flavors. My
mm,
path, of course, is VC backed, but because I want to be that way, because I want to build that size of
the
company,
scale
that
and
size
the
scale.
speed. Yeah,
Exactly, but at that scale and speed, exactly. But even if you're a bootstrap founder and you set a target of 1 million in revenue, no problem. It's everything else outside of that goal is noise.
yeah,
So it's basically, and so yeah, I would say,
yeah. And I think that's what that part of the journey in the beginning is what people are scared of. You know,
yeah,
that period of time, how many years it lasts, where you have to um, basically being worried that people around you are going to think you're a loser
yeah,
because you're not
exactly.
doing something that's prestigious. I think it's why a lot of graduates go to like McKinsey, say for example, because they just don't want to be seen as
Yeah,
a loser, like
exactly.
building something.
And people often underestimate how much experience, but besides experience, also how much time it can take to actually become a little bit to sort of skip that part. To me, it took 3 years. That's
Mm.
pretty much it.
Mm.
Before actually, oh fuck. Well, in the end, he actually earned money from this company, so whatever. Then the agency, oh well, actually it's working. Oh wow,
Yeah,
great.
and then everyone thinks
Yeah,
you're like, oh, this guy's Mr. Successful. Always, yeah, he's always been killing it. Like
yeah,
people will then
yeah.
start to say
So
that.
yeah, but it took a while. It took a while to to learn and
Yeah,
so yeah, I wouldn't focus that much on the expectation and external noise. If you think if you have no scenario in your mind where you wouldn't do that, then it's clear that it's
yeah,
just a path of survivor. So just I can survive only doing this. That's my thing.
mm.
Okay, so in a way, there's no other things for me. I don't want other things. There is no, as I said, there's no scenario. So in a way, it makes the decision very easy to sacrifice
Yeah,
everything. Of course, sometimes you go in your hometown or you see older friends and say, "Oh fuck, well." That's cool, but still, like maybe it lasts one day of saying, "Wow, how cool it would be to hang out more with friends."
yeah,
But it lasts one day, literally one day. After the second day, I just say, "Oh, thank God, I can't wait to get back to work."
yeah, yeah,
Which of course scare me a little bit because eventually I would like to have a family. I'm 22, so 22 years old. It's like literally no stress and no stuff on this side. But in 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years, let's at some
you
point.
still have time to build the unicorn.
Build a big company, maybe another one. No, maybe. I
Yeah,
will build another one
yeah,
in like 10 years, probably when
yeah,
this one reaches potential. It's or even a spin-off from this one. But whatever. The point here is, thinking that this path is this kind of can't wait to get back to work is something
hmm
that sometimes I think about it. Fuck, and what if will be eventually as well? This will be a recurrent theme. The
yeah,
truth is that analyzing history figures and all this stuff will be always like this.
mm.
So like Clementine, the wife from Churchill, said that when she married him, she said it was in love, of course, but it was like it wasn't the thing that was thrilled about the fact that she would have always come second from the books
Yeah,
of life
yeah,
and wisdom.
yeah,
which is a thing, which is a fair thing to think about it because politics. In his case was politics, in my case was of course founder and building.
Mm,
So in a way that is something that will be. But as I said, it's fine. It's not something that, as I said, there is no scenario where this company. I don't want to bring this company in that place where it needs to be. There is no scenario where I would do anything else. And probably in the future there will be no scenario where I will
yeah.
not maybe begin again.
I think that's the right way to think about it. Like whatever you're gonna do, whether it's like building a company or becoming a comedian or being great at whatever job it is you want to do, is if you think about it like this is what I want to do and like that's just where it's going to be, then you can survive the lack
Yeah,
of money in the beginning or the lack of like what's the word, validation in the beginning or that kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Because there is no it's just Survivor. Okay,
Yeah,
well, you switch in Survivor mode. Okay,
yeah,
you need to survive, and that's it. And this is the only part you can survive. So that's why you basically, remove everything else. In a way, you basically there's a thing that a founder built a company of 40 million revenue, like a few years. Very nice guy, and he told me, "Oh, Marco, my idea is that founders they have a girlfriend, they have less success."
yeah,
Which is a very, very strange thing to say, of course.
yeah,
But the point here, it wasn't that much wrong. Okay, so it's about sacrificing, I think,
yeah.
in a way. Sometimes you find a person that helps you and improves you in a way to sacrifice more. But 99%, 99.9%, I think, is still about
Mm,
sacrificing.
mm, mm,
And, have a person nearby you is like, switching from survivor mode to something else.
mm,
But even when the things are going good, you have to be in survivor mode.
mm,
And sometimes, this kind of stuff is very similar to the approach that Elon Musk use
mm,
in all these companies. They always think like uh, eventually will die. Or now, for example, for Tesla was bankruptcy, but for SpaceX was after bankruptcy was solved was a problem of multiplanetary space and whatever.
mm,
This kind of level, even though maybe doesn't believe it, maybe believes it. The point here is it built an internal, I think, narrative more than also the investors as well, but an internal narrative that allows him to be in survivor mode always. And the survivor mode basically makes you super focused because everything that doesn't add to the P&L, we could say, but that adds value, and just shit. Okay,
mm.
no, I can't do that. It's just I am in survivor mode. I don't know, buying a new phone and buying a new house, it's just everything that isn't. It's if you're constantly in survivor mode, you just have to survive, and what the brain is able to do when you're in survival mode is something
Pretty
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super. And so like next for you now is continuing to build this company and
Yeah.
hopefully scaling it and
Yeah.
getting more and more funding and maybe moving one day to SF and all that kind of nice stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the dream.
Probably our next round will be, or maybe another 2 rounds will be in SF. Who knows? But yeah,
Nice.
definitely.
Super.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we should wrap it up then,
Yeah.
hey? Well, actually,
Oh.
we ask guests for a quote
Oh. Oh
before we
shit.
wrap up. So, do you have a quote that comes to mind?
Uh, actually, don't.
No, that's fine.
Fuck.
Maybe there's a good quote for you.
Oh.
Um, from Churchill, a famous quote from Churchill, where he said, "Failure is not fatal, and
Oh.
success is not final." Right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. Maybe you
Only
could
the
use that one.
courage to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that is very, very good. Yeah,
so we can have that one.
yeah, yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for coming on
Thank you.
and giving your afternoon to us. I'm sure it was very interesting for the listeners, and all the best with building the company.
Thank you. Bye.
Super. That's a wrap.